Good morning, everyone. My name is Jacobo Domingo. We are Roboto, and we are innovating sustainability. Thank you very much to the organizers and to Sustainery for inviting us today to give this seminar on aerial firefighting innovation. Presentation doesn't seem to work. There we are. Perfect. Wildfires are a critical hazard, one that destroys biodiversity, that kills animals, and that takes human lives. I wanted to share with you some insights about recent events that show the increase in size, in frequency, and in severity of these wildfires across the world. The first example I wanted to show you was the example of the bushfires in the last season of wildfires in Australia, where we saw that 18 million hectares of land burned across the nation. This caused 430 million tons of CO2 to be emitted into the atmosphere, affecting millions of people across Australia. It also cost the government 100 million Australian dollars in firefighting efforts and in suppressing damages. This caused a great loss in biodiversity, as 1 million different species of animals were killed, and 75% of the koala habitat was destroyed due to the wildfires. A more recent example of this is the wildfires that have been occurring in California over the last year. A couple months ago, one night, 10,000 lightning strikes started, 600 simultaneous fires that then went on to expand along the entire west coast of the US. In California alone, we see that this year, 3.3 million hectares have burned across the state in 45,000 different wildfires. Some of these wildfires have combined into creating 6 out of the top 20 biggest wildfires in the state's history. Another example is the Amazon. This is one of the more clear ones, as we see that every year, due to the deforestation and to wildfires, we're losing more and more terrain of the Earth's lungs. Due to wildfires last year alone, 1 million hectares burned across the Amazon, across 90,000 different fires, which cost the governments a total of $950 billion in firefighting efforts and damages. There we are. Lastly, I wanted to bring the example a bit back home to Europe and to Siberia, where we saw that every year up to 3 million hectares of land burn across our nations. And it takes from 20 to 50 years until these forests can fully regenerate after they have been burned. This is costing a total of 30 billion euros in firefighting efforts and damages every year. And we see that this is not only in the common countries that you can think of, such as Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Greece, but it is actually expanding to rarer areas such as Sweden, where in 2018, 25% of the forestal land across the country was burned. And where we see that now the Arctic Circle and Siberia are being affected by these fires, which are causing the dangers of permafrost to defrost, which can emit a ton of CO2 back into the atmosphere. So as you see, this is a great problem that is only getting worse every year. And so let's take a look a little bit, if my pointing wants to work, at how the firefighters are tackling this operation at the moment. One of the vital parts of wildfire operations is reconnaissance, as firefighters need to have the information to be able to know exactly where they have to be and how to tackle these situations. This is currently being done through the use mainly of helicopters and planes, in which normally there is a pilot and an operator who are flying around the fire, looking at it, trying to gain insightful information, drawing it onto a map, and trying to get a key representation of where that fire is being developed, where it's being placed. This is a very time-consuming and resource-heavy method, as it takes a long time until they can produce a useful map. And it can also be very dangerous. In order to get useful information, they have to get really close to these fires, where both the extreme heats and the smoke can affect the sensors and can lead to accidents. Actually, 24% of wildfire deaths are directly related to these aerial accidents. This is why firefighters are now looking into different technologies, more innovative, such as satellite imagery. With this, they can get a clear overview of the situation from above, but it still brings some defaults, such as the problem that this information is updated every so often. Normally, satellites can only send information once or twice every day, and they are heavily affected by clouds and smoke, as they can block the view, and then they can basically disable the satellite from giving information. This is why we're taking the next step, or firefighters are taking the next step into in technology, and they're looking into drones. Oh, I went one too far. So drones are being implemented as a cheaper and more surgical method of tackling wildfire operations. They bring the advantages that they're fastly deployable, as you don't need a lot of resources to put a drone up in the air. And they can access hard-to-reach areas. They can fly in smoky conditions, and they can also operate at night, which brings advantages over the previously presented methods. They also still bring the disadvantages that these drones are still being manually operated and the data being manually processed. This means that you have to have an operator who is trained not only to fly drones, but also to understand wildfires, so they can fly the drone while looking at the footage, trying to get useful information. And this is where we come in. Oh, sorry, this is where the future of reconnaissance comes in. The future comes by the hand of AI. Artificial intelligence will allow to automate some of these dangerous tasks, produce more accurate data, and be able to increase the efficiency and the speed of these operations. It will basically allow to do fast delivery of data at long ranges without the user having to manually look and process this data. This, coupled along with fixed-wing platforms, which is essentially an unmanned small plane, will allow to cover vast areas with high range and high endurance, which is then comparable to that of the current helicopters and planes. Some of the examples we have seen in these implementations is, for example, the program that the Pentagon has just started. The National Guard has decided to take the leap into AI, implementing it with the Reaper drones in order to do fast mapping of fires. So right now, they're doing manually controlled drones that can then track the movements of the wildfire. They can map it in under 30 minutes with an accuracy of plus minus 30 meters. And they can, and with the future agenda of implementing this into warfare and into defense. Another example is Telefónica, a Spanish telecommunications company, who's also implementing a set of cameras into their telephone towers around forests that can track and detect fire. Once this fire has been tracked, then they can send a drone out to look at the information and kind of spot the area, the situation, to get useful data. And this is where we come in. Robotto and we are committed to find innovative solutions and ways to implement robotics and AI in order to help tackle the effects of climate change. We're doing this by becoming leaders in the field. We have been working on this project for over 2 years, gaining insights on AI and developing our product to be at state-of-the-art level. We're finding innovative ways of implementing this technology into society in order to enhance human capabilities, not to replace them. We want to do this following a responsible and ethical approach, keeping our development process open, and making sure that we implement these technologies in order to help people and help society. Ultimately, we want to find solutions to important problems, saving and preserving biodiversity, nature, and helping tackle climate change. Our story began as a group of students at the Bachelor of Robotics in Oberlin University. We had a year to develop our bachelor thesis, and we wanted to tackle something to do with drones and AI. Our first idea was actually to develop a delivery drone for pizzas, as we were too lazy to walk over to the restaurant and get the pizzas ourselves. But then we decided that this might be not so much of a relevant problem. This was back in 2018, where we saw Greece had a deadly wildfire, Spain had a massive amount, record-breaking fires. California had the worst fire in state's history. And as I mentioned earlier, even Sweden was catching in flames. So we decided to try and do something about this. We started a collaboration with the Danish Emergency Management Agency, who is the national emergency service here in Denmark, and had a conversation with them about how were they doing the reconnaissance. This is where we were introduced to them, their methods of utilizing drones in a manual way. And we decided we could try and make this process better. Over the next year, we developed what became the first prototype for our product, and which essentially became to be a system that could gather and process data autonomously on the fire and deliver this as an actionable item to the firefighters so they can overview the situation better. This project was so well received that we were encouraged to pursue the commercialization of our project, and this is how we decided to start a company. So back in February of 2019, we joined the incubator at our university. where we got the first lessons on how can we take this great idea and turn it into actually something that you can actually sell. So we learn all about team management, how to split our skills and kind of build a complete team, and how to move on from there. This put us on to our next step, which was Innovative Vækst, an accelerator program here in Denmark, organized by the Danish Business Hub, which then allow us to take the step further, establish our company back in November of 2019, and do more of official hierarchy and learn about business management, sales, marketing, finances, all these things that us as engineers had no idea about. This landed us joining the event of Copenhagen Venture Exchange back in February of this year, where we were able to land our first funding round. This was a seed round of 3 million Danish krone, which we landed right before the global pandemic hit the world. So we were lucky enough that we were able to use this money in order to buy the appropriate hardware to develop our product and to increase our team from the 5 initial founders to a team of now 13. Within this team, we have a wide variety of cultures, as we have 11 different nationalities, which has helped us to create an international culture within the company. We have also now been able to finish the development of our first iteration of our product, which we're now ready to launch to market. And we have prepared our strategy to launch internationally, now looking at the markets of Spain, California, Chile, Australia, and many more. So let me talk about our product, Aura, our little baby, which stands for Autonomous Wildfire Recognition and Analytics. And it is a platform that enables firefighters to follow wildfires in real time, allowing them to be in the right place at the right time. With Aura, we bring 3 main value propositions. We want Aura to become the ultimate protector, helping reduce firefighter fatalities, and helping restore the community's sense of security when it comes to wildfires. We want to allow for more efficient operations by providing data on the size, the location, the direction, and the hotspots of the fire. We can clearly give them the actionable information they need to reallocate their resources more efficiently and learn how to tackle that fire more efficiently. Ultimately, we want to increase the speed of the operations, allowing firefighters to tackle this fire swiftly, preserving nature, biodiversity, and saving lives. The competitive advantages that we bring with Aura come in the form of our fully autonomous system, which does not need operators, and it can operate all by itself, both in navigation, detection, and processing of the information. We are correlating information from both an optical camera, but also a thermal, in order to give a full spectrum of the fire and to give actionable data. And ultimately, we're doing all of our processing on board the drone, which means we're not relying on any internet connection. This is very useful when it comes to these remote areas and these remote implementations, as you're not going to be able to have the luxury of having internet at all times. And so by having all our processing on board, we can operate as a closed-loop system even when we lose connection. This is a great pointer. There we are. So how does it work? It's 4 simple steps. The emergency services arrive on site when they have been alerted there's a wildfire, or to areas where they know there's a high critical chance of there being a wildfire. They then deploy the drone and they select a region of interest on a map of where they want to perform reconnaissance. The drone then flies out autonomously to this area and start performing our detection, using our detection algorithms to find a fire. We do this through the channel of looking for smoke, looking for flames, or looking for high temperatures. Once that fire has been detected, then it starts calculating the size and the location, the direction, and the hotspots, and plotting all this information back into the user's hand on the map so they can get a clear overview of the situation and know how to tackle that fire more efficiently. So what is the future of our platform? We want to ultimately build an emergency information platform where we can use different sources in order to provide a full span of information that can be implemented into different use cases. We want to do this by developing our next platform, which would be implementing fixed-wing drones. As I mentioned earlier, this will allow us to increase our system capabilities by increasing our range to using satellite communication to indefinite, by increasing our flight time from 30 minutes to 3 up to 6 hours, depending on climate conditions, and by allowing us to fly at a higher altitude, being able to cover a higher area from above. This will also bring us to our different applications and use cases. When it comes to AI, we always like to bring the example of how you teach and how you train these models. It's basically the same way you teach a 2-year-old kid what a dog is, right? You show them an image of what a dog is and repeatedly tell them this is a dog, this is the dog, until they understand, okay, this is a dog. AI works the same way or similar way, where you're basically telling, in our case, this is a fire, this is a fire, this is a fire, until it actually learns what the fire is, right? And you feed these databases. So by implementing different databases, by teaching them different things, we can expand the use case and the expandability of our product and implement this into first response, into aerial inspection, into search and rescue, into wildlife control. Some examples of the interest we have gained within these areas is, for example, a project we're launching with a company called Access to Innovation here in Denmark, who is helping bring Danish companies to the African continent. And with them, we're launching a project to implement our solution into wildlife control in order to track herds of animals, such as zebras, lions, and so on, in the savannah. Another example of this is when it comes to pipelines and power lines. With our technology, we can easily spot leaks in pipelines. We can spot power surges in power lines. We can also help within search and rescue by quickly spotting people that get lost in the forest, get lost at sea, in rivers. So at the end, the potential for this product is limitless. We have established some successful pilot projects internationally. The first one here in Denmark with North Jutland's Emergency Service, in which we came into a collaboration where during the last summer, whenever there was a wildfire in North Jutland, we were alerted and we came out into the field with them in order to test our product, improve our capabilities, and also adapt it to their operation and methods so they could implement it easily into their forces. This led us to go up to more than 50 operations with them, with some very good success cases, such as one operation where we went out to a potato plantation, where the fire had actually spread underneath, so it had caught fire on the roots and the crops, and so the firefighters were not able to spot those hotspots from above. But with our technology, we were able to give them a wide overview of the situation and actually alert them that the fire was expanding to another field that they didn't know was expanding into. I also have another video of one of the operations we went into. This is a controlled fire that was organized by the Ministry of Nature, in which they were testing and training their operators. And we were able to go out into the field with them with our product. And what you can see on the screen now is a representation of our user interface. So this is what the user will receive, right? And then above you get the live feed from the thermal camera, what the drone is seeing basically. And on the map, you get a representation of how that fire is being represented upon by the drone. It's calculating the size, the location, and in real time plotting all of this onto the map so that the user can get a clear overview and allocate the resources more efficiently. We're now looking outwards into the world to keep building these collaborations. We have been talking with the Fire and Rescue Service from New South Wales in Australia, as well as with the Rural Fire Service, which are very interested in our wildfire application, as well as our potential for wildlife tracking and search and rescue. One of the main problems, for example, they have in Australia is with sharks in beaches where there's a lot of surfers, because this can be very dangerous and hard to track. So with our drone, we can help them in those kind of situations. Another successful pilot project that we have actually already established is with the Graph Firefighters in Catalonia. This is a unit of elite firefighters and wildfire analysts that work at an international level. And we just came back from a demo with them in Catalonia. So here you can see our product in action. This was also during a controlled fire, which is, as I said, it's done to train operators, but it's also done to burn fuel in key areas where otherwise wildfires may spread out. And right now, they don't really have capabilities to overview these fires, minus small drones that they can use to manually look at the fire, right? So we came with Aura, and we were able to show them and control these fires from spreading and getting out of control and spreading onto different fields. And again, here you can see the footage seen from the drone, both from the optical camera and the thermal camera, and how that is all being represented onto the map to get that useful and clear overview of the situation. We have received quite a large amount of international recognition, first through the publication of scientific articles around our work, one of them being published in IEEE, which is the highest standard of publications for engineering in the world. And we have also received many recognition through awards, such as the Software Company of the Year award by the Prestige Awards here in Denmark, the third place at the STEM Awards at an international level, and also the third place at the Innovationsprisen here in Denmark. And we're now excited for tomorrow, as it will be the Gala Award for the SDG Tech Awards, in which we are finalists for 2 different categories, that of resource management and that of EU Green Impact. So I have talked a lot about the technology and how this is one of the pillars of our company and our brand. But I wanted to put more emphasis on the other 2 pillars that build what Robotto is today. One of them being sustainability. We believe highly on the importance to be able to cultivate a safe prospect for our civilization, our planet, and our future as humans. And we believe that this can be done through several ways, and I have highlighted some of them. One being the appropriate management of natural resources. We have a world that is full of nature and that can help us all provide and cultivate and grow to the potential that we need to grow. But it is important that we appropriately manage these resources so we don't lose them, such as the example I brought of the Amazon earlier. This brings me to the second point of the importance of preserving biodiversity and nature. We're rapidly killing through deforestation, through natural disasters, through wildfires. We're destroying the earth. So it's important that we now take the step forward and then we put a stop to this in order to help preserve nature and biodiversity as we have it today. And a very good way of doing this is through the use of the SDGs, which were formed in the beginning as a culmination of agreements between different nations around the world, and to how can we actually take actionable steps to help preserve the world and help stop and put a stop to climate change. So it's important that we keep this at the forefront of our society, and we let them pave the way into a more safe future. The second message, or the third pillar I wanted to bring importance into, was ethics. We believe in the importance of ethics to ensure the responsible development and use of technologies as strong as AI that will also help us change the image that AI has in the world today. Thanks to movies and TV shows, we all think of AI as this swarm of robots that will come and take over the world, replace humans, but this is very far from reality. AI is not a futuristic technology. It's something that is here now, and that it's important for us to ensure that this is used in a responsible way. This comes through also 3 main pillars, that one of them being transparent use and development of this technology, to make sure that we all keep green impact and we all keep sustainable the objective for this technology and how we can implement it. The second one, developers being able to drive the conversation forward when it comes to regulation. Regulators are not so knowledgeable when it comes to this technology, so it's important that us as drivers of this can help them see the potential that this has and the good that it can do and how it's safer than they might think. But to do this, we also have to keep a mindful implementation of how we implement this technology. So avoid implementing it into the use to kill or to warfare, and driving it more towards green impact, sustainability, all the different messages that we have been talking about in the different talks today. So if there is one final message that I would like you to take away from my presentation today, is that AI and technology is very powerful, and it's here today. And it is important for us to drive and to build systems so that they're made in a sustainable, safe, innovative, and mindful way. Thank you very much. We are Robotto, and we are innovating sustainability.
Cool. Well, let's, thank you very much. Let's pull up a chair. All right. Super simpatico product. I mean, everybody likes firefighters, and we like them fighting fires, but them sitting in a bus driving from A to B because they don't know where the fire is or it's a long way away, that's a good thing. Looking at the sustainability angle, there was a couple of things you brought up. I thought one was, one of the reasons behind between forest fires is that there's an awful lot of brush out there, there's an awful lot of fuel that's easy to catch fire, and that one of the ways of controlling this is to do a controlled burn. You set it on fire at a time of year when it's not going to set the whole country on fire.
Yep.
But that's difficult. So these controlled burns, this is something the more information makes possible.
Yeah. So this is, as you say, it's very tricky. Normally, these prescribed fires are very dependent on the wind conditions, on the weather of the day, And as you say, it can be, if you let it run out of control, it can really create a wildfire, and you can create the problem you're trying to tackle, right? So with information like this, and kind of the demo that we were doing in Barcelona last week was really helpful in that way, that you can keep an eye out for that fire, you can keep an eye out for that development in order to stop it from jumping onto the field you don't want to be burned, right?
And so like the more knowledge you have, then the better, let's see, I've got to imagine that there's an awful lot of times when you're like, well, it would be really good if we could do one, but it's too risky.
Yeah.
And so the more information you have, the easier it is to manage your risk. It's a risk management tool in many ways.
And also one of the things we want to develop is to be able to look at increasing the capabilities of our detection. So not just looking at the fire and saying, okay, this is the fire, this is how big it's getting, but also at the type of vegetation that the fire is spreading onto, right? So that you can easily track what type of vegetation, how much faster does it spread in one area than another, and as you say, if there's a lot of fuel that needs to be burned, so that you can also assess where those prescribed burns should be taking place.
So last year's, you could tell I was pretty excited about you noticing the point on habitation was last year's Paradise, California fire, the massive fire there. One of the factors in that was the changing nature of the environment, was that increased heat had changed the plants that grew there. Those plants were more susceptible to high-degree fires.
And it's not only in California. For example, one of the markets we have been looking a lot into is Chile. Chile has a large forest management industry, and this means that there's been a lot of imports of different species onto the Chilean environment, such as pines and eucalyptus, who are very common in the Mediterranean side of Europe, right? And this tend to burn faster than the regular trees that you could find in Chile. So by bringing this in this importation, you have actually increased the size of the problem in Chile, and now they're having a hard time managing their operations, right? And this combined with the different weather conditions that are there, for example, the upcoming fire season in Chile, it's going to be really bad because there's something called La Niña, which is a weather condition that happens in the Pacific.
You can predict it's every 7 years, right?
Exactly. And right now it's making the weather conditions worse for wildfires for this season, so they're getting ready for a very large wildfire season this year.
Okay, cool. And it's not just, let's say in Chile. I know here in Denmark we've got a thing that is called the Douglas pine, the Douglas pine, which obviously doesn't come from Denmark. All right. These, when it's obvious that people that fight fires are your customers, so, obviously fire emergency management agencies, but the forest management industry. Earlier we had a company called Echo Tree up here on stage, and they were bringing a new business model to the forest management industry, making it possible for smaller investors to invest all the way down to a single tree. If they've got an investment, obviously they're interested in protecting it. The forest management industry, how big is their interest in this product? I mean, are they potential customers? Are you in dialogue with them?
Yeah, we're actually talking to some companies within the forest management industry, especially in Chile, because they're really, as you say, they're really interested in, they have those forests that they have to manage, and they're really interested that those forests don't burn up, obviously, right? And along with forest management companies, some other stakeholders that we've also found interested would be also NGOs, private landowners, fire watch officers. So at the end, the span of insurance companies, so at the end, the span of people who are interested in targeting and kind of tackling this problem is way bigger than just firefighters.
The Paradise Fire was started by Pacific Gas and Electric, a power line that was malfunctioning.
Yeah, and this is actually one of the use cases that we have gathered information or more interest about. Because with a drone, you can easily spot the distance between a power line and the top of a tree to see if there's a risk that a spark might spark up a wildfire. Sure. So this is the kind of things that now we're looking into developing in the future as part of our platform.
Right, so I mean, a lot of this is really basic stuff. It's just, it's affected by the fact that Chile is a very, very big place, or the forests are enormous.
And in general, this technology is simpler than people think. I mean, it's what I was trying to bring up earlier, right? People think that AI is this complicated brain inside a robot that will make... No, it really is just simple algorithms that can detect things, learn from things, and can then implement that information in several ways, right? And so it's important that we bring that message up to the public and people understand this.
Sure, it's like good AI. There is a big point to good AI. I mean, you're right. People think of Cambridge Analytica. If you're my age, you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and
exactly.
Skynet and
Terminator and
and you seldom
2001: Space Odyssey. There's so many great examples of this.
Exactly. And we tend to think dystopia when we think of it. And we don't see. There's a Danish company that helps emergency operators tell whether the callers are having a heart attack.
Yeah.
They use AI for that.
Exactly.
That's a good example of AI. Well, so now what's your business model? Because I mean, one of the things about sustainability is also, is that it's good business. The better the business is, the more we can scale it. That's why I mentioned the forest management industry. What do people buy from you? Are they buying a service? Are they buying the drone? Are they buying?
So we're giving a subscription as a service model. So we're basically giving licenses to our software, and this go per drone. This can be installed into existing drones that the users might have already, and if they don't, then we can also help with consultancy of which drones they should look into. But yeah, basically our subscription model works at a monthly fee for an extended period of time, and which varies from user to user, and then we can kind of introduce those updates, and we can help them develop those products further along with the users as well.
Subscription models, for those people that may be in doubt, are very popular with investors because, it works.
Yeah.
It really does for anybody who's got Netflix and
I mean,
realize,
we are a software company. We are not attached to hardware specifically. We are quite agnostic about it. Even with drones, we want to, as I explained earlier, we want to implement this into different ways, into cameras, into drones, into fixed wings, into many different platforms, and at the end build that software to be as strong as we can.
And so you're not stuck on the quadcopter thing that people get irritated when the neighbor is flying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Also because quadcopters are great for some operations in particular, but they are not such high capabilities of flight times and endurance and so on. So
I think Chile,
in some ways, fixed wings are better, or even putting a camera on an already existing helicopter might be even more useful. So at the end, it's just how can we kind of scale it to the point where we can help in many ways as possible.
So you're tying the information provided by the drones, you're agnostic as to what type of drone,
exactly.
What size drone. Cool. This, you're based up here in the Nordics. What's been special up here? I mean, we've got a drone development test site where you can, one of the few places in the world, I think it's the only place in the world where you can actually fly drones and test them. Yeah, is there anything particular up here that's been key to your development?
We actually stayed in Aalborg, and that's where most of the operation is running. Besides me, who I'm sitting here in Copenhagen, but yeah, we like Denmark because of all the different advantages that the government is putting onto startups. They're really pushing forward the startup community, and it's what they were talking about earlier, that the Nordics in general are pushing a lot for the startup community to grow. I mean, we have a lot of resources, and it's better to implement it into innovation, right? And to make sure that Denmark, who's normally thought as a small country, can really put their footprint onto the world. And so that was what kind of attracted us on all the different programs and incubators and accelerators and grants. And right now we're part of InnoFounder, which is a program from the Innovation Fund that is helping us grow our business forward and have a kind of a co-working space to sit in and so on. So at the end, there's many advantages as a startup to be living here in Denmark.
So if potential partners are watching and are interested, who are you interested in collaborating with right now? Who's going to help you power the next phase of your development and maybe even the phase after that? Who do you need to meet? Who would you love to meet more of? Is it fire departments? Is it people that make the drone hardware? Is it people that own forests? Is it public sector? Yeah, so right now we are, as I said, we're ready to go. We just finished our product and we are ready to go to market. And we are looking for those early adopters who will put the faith and back up the project and be willing to become those first clients to test this solution and to bring this product out into the world, because we really believe in the value it can bring. And as I said, that be emergency services, public, private industries. And we really are looking for that one person that will say, okay, I will help you take this out into the world. Cool. And you're not limited by where this is. I know Australia, Chile, and Denmark are rather far apart. We're trying to cover as much as we can, as quickly as we can. Cool. There's a lot of trees out there. If anybody's hearing us from any part of the world and they're interested in this, please reach out to us. Cool. Well, we're ready. All right. Well, super. Thanks. Thank you. It's been a great day. Thank you.